Okay. The forest looked totally different at night. Mysterious shadows were hiding behind the trees, strange rustlings, and the cries of night birds coming from everywhere, branches treacherously snapping under my feet. The full moon was shining, so I decided to save my battery in the flashlight. I'm sure I'll need it sometime soon. I feel like this game's about to get creepy. Maybe I'm wrong. I just remembered it's been like, God, I've been playing this game for so freaking long. Um, I just remembered that like weird jump scare at the very beginning of the game, and that still makes me think that there's gonna be a creepy twist at some point. So anyway, if it was gonna happen, it would happen soon because we're in the forest at night. The further I moved, the more unpleasant thoughts came into my head. Same, bro. I wasn't afraid of the dark at all. Not quite same on that one. I didn't believe in ghosts or other mystical crap, but at the same time, during the last few days, I'd encountered some incomprehensible phenomenon that, against my own will, I started to read between the lines of the simplest things. Obviously, I felt exceptionally uneasy in the forest at night. Everywhere I looked, every shadow, every tree or bush looked like weird creatures, escaping straight from horror movies or from Stephen King novels. Nice Stephen King reference. A branch, did they read Stephen King in Russia? Apparently they do. A branch seemed to be someone's hand, eager to grab your shoulder, a fallen log, someone's dead body, someone who failed to get out of the forest. In every gully I saw a bottomless abyss. If I had found myself in the forest under any circumstances, without all these buses and pioneer camps, of course, I would still feel uncomfortable. Then I would be able to explain everything with logic and be afraid of nothing, except for owls and mice, of course. But at the moment, there were more than enough reasons to fear. I'm waiting. I'm fucking waiting for something to happen. Despite all this, I reached the old camp without any adventures. Ellipses. I'm fucking waiting for some creepy ass bullshit to happen. In a little glade surrounded by trees stood a house resembling a kindergarten. What about this resembles a kindergarten? What fucking kindergartens has this guy been to that look like this? Jesus. Paint. Yeah, this is creepy music. Paint peeled off the walls. Almost all the windows were broken. Broken masonry here and there. Holes in the roof that looked like those made by a bombing. In front of the building was a little garden surrounded by a rusty fence. Apparently once it was a playground with a playground with a merry-go-round, swing, slides, and other Soviet attractions. But time is cruel. All of them are broken and mutilated by corrosion. The grass was so tall that I almost came up to my waist. Fuck, what's gonna happen? I didn't like that weird pause. The moon looked out from behind the clouds and illuminated the old camp. It seemed like everything came back to life. Windows shone with new glass and walls looked like they'd been painted with fresh paint. I heard playful laughter. Fantastic. Oh, good. Saw translucent children joyfully running and frolicking in the yard. The strict camp leader on the threshold holding a basket with ripe apples in their hand. The old cleaning lady taking a nap in the shade. I hope this is all metaphorical. Like he's like imagining this stuff. It sent chills down my spine. Of course my imagination was just playing tricks, but the old camp itself was so similar to all the post-apocalyptic pictures I'd seen that these visions were no surprise. I stood undecided for a long time before I dared to go further. After all, I'm here to find Shurek. Fuck Shurek. I don't even like him. Like, if it was electronic or really anybody else, I would be. But Shurek's just like he's like the most unimportant character I've met so far. Though I still don't get what he might be doing here. If he even is here. A boot somewhere nearby doesn't mean anything. A boot somewhere nearby doesn't mean anything. However, if he was not eaten by wolves, for some reason it seemed like there were no wolves in this forest, this must be the only place where he might be hiding. I carefully crossed the yard, pushing the tall grass apart and trying not to bump into jagged pieces of metal. but I stopped in a doorway, hesitating. Jesus Christ. An impenetrable heavy darkness stared back at me from inside. Even the bright moonlight could not illuminate any object or even highlight a silhouette. My head was filled up with different thoughts that all said that I'm sorry, I'm freaking out a little bit. That all said that it's better for me to not go any further and run away quickly. I would agree. But I pulled myself together, turned on the flashlight, and stepped over the threshold. Motherfucker, I don't like this. What? Inside the building looked like a typical kindergarten. Again, I'm forced to ask, what kind of fucked up kindergartens has this guy been to? I still remember my childhood days, so everything here looked very familiar. Sleeping room with lines of beds standing close to each other, a large playroom, toilets, and dining room and utility rooms. Signs of the past children's joy were seen everywhere. From time to time, the flashlight drew my attention to a decaying doll or a plastic toy car or a punctured rubber ball or a broken rank of tin soldiers. I can't underestimate how badly I do not want to click. I'm convinced every time I click, there's going to be a cheap-ass jump scare. And I hate it. I hate it. Why am I playing this? There was a book on a table, faded with age. I flipped through a few pages. It was a story I'd read a long time ago, back in my childhood. Something about the war. Enemies destroyed the kindergarten and all the kids hid in a little basement together with a bunch of adults while bombs were exploding up on the surface. I don't remember the end of the story, but as far as I remember, nobody died. Looking at is that foreshadowing? Looking at the illustrations, all the emotions, fear, sadness, sympathy for the poor children, and the sense of hopelessness which I had experienced while reading this book came over me. It's strange that under exactly these conditions right here and now that I find this book. Probably there's somebody who manages this ongoing story, who writes the scenarios for this absurd play, who sews costumes for the local pioneers and creates sets like this abandoned camp. To tell the truth, he's very talented. Attention is paid to even the most minor details. Although the place was abandoned long time ago, everything here seemed to be untouched. Of course, time didn't spare this camp in so many years it had been visited by the locals. A perfect place for young people just hitting puberty. They could drink alcohol and indulge in amorous pleasures, or simply burn everything down just for fun. Electronic mentioned this place is full of legends. Legends of ghosts and devils living here. Take, for example, the story about the camp leader who committed suicide. In my world, nobody would believe it that this could stop somebody, but in this reality, anything is possible. Certainly, the fear didn't disappear, but I decided that since I'd come here, I was going to carry on to the end. But the building was small, so it wasn't difficult to search it completely. But I didn't find any sign of Shirik. Can I leave now, please? Maybe I should just call out to him? But on the other hand, maybe that's not such a good idea. Maybe not a good idea. Frustrated, I sat on a bench in the lobby inside. Ghosts, where are you? Fuck, why do you have to say that, man? Why you gotta be like that? Why you gotta do this to me? Why you gotta do this? I asked the camp. And all of a sudden I noticed a strange depression in the corner. Corner? A small trap door. An adult would barely be able to squeeze through it. Why does it have to be a trap door? And it seemed to me that it had been opened recently as the dust was cleared around it. Fantastic. Fantastic. And so here's the part where I need to be scared. Oh, now we're getting to the part where I need to be scared. Fantastic. So Shirik went somewhere. What might be lurking behind the trap door? A basement? I hope. I hope that's all it is. What would he be doing there? Fuck, I don't like noises. I pulled open the hatch and pointed the flashlight into the darkness. There was a ladder going down a couple of meters, ending in a concrete floor. There was a low, narrow corridor disappearing in the darkness. I hesitated for a long time. On the one hand, I had absolutely no desire to go down there, but on the other hand, if Shurek was really there, I don't give a fuck. Go home. Go to bed. Go back to where all the hot chicks are. Where'd the hot chicks go? I thought this was a hot chicks game. I swore loudly and began to descend. Fantastic, once again. Downstairs it was so dark that even my flashlight didn't help much. A low ceiling, wires extended along the walls, broken lamps clad in iron bars. I don't like that image. Why do I never have eyes? Do I just not have eyes? I've all seen it all somewhere. Fantastic sentence. I slowly started to move deeper into the dungeon. The path went down, and after a few dozen meters, ended at a stairway with high steps. So I found myself in front of a massive metal door. There was a sign painted on it. I looked closely and realized that it was a biohazard sign. No wonder, if the old camp was built after the war, it lasted until the 70s. So it's an ordinary bomb shelter, and there's nothing to be afraid of. However, those thoughts made me even more scared. I made a decision and opened the door. We about to have a Doki Doki Literature Club situation right now. Oh, fuck. Which I immediately shut with a sharp sound as soon as I stepped through the doorway. Why'd you shut it? Why'd you shut it? Why would you shut it? I shut it strongly. My hands began to tremble and my vision dimmed. I regained consciousness after a few seconds, and only then did I realize that apparently a strong spring had attached to the door. What the fuck is happening right now? I found myself in a quite spacious room. In the beam of the flashlight I could see a bunk bed, some cabinets along the walls, and several devices of unknown purpose located in the far corner. I believe those are fire extinguishers. It seems that this is a bomb shelter has never been used. Nobody ever came here. The beds were made, which is strange in itself. I carefully looked around for the room several times. The cabinets were filled with gas masks, chemical protective suits, dry rations, various domestic odds and ends. The devices which I at first could determine the purpose of were gauges of radiation, air pressure, and temperature. In short, it was a typical bomb shelter. I'd never been in such a place before, but it's how I imagined it. The only thing that remained unexplored was the door at the other end of the room. I pulled the handle, but the door remained closed. If someone recently came down here and he wasn't found in this room, then it would be logical to assume that he's behind this door. I guess. I called out in a whisper. Shurek? Fuck, I don't like when I start talking. No reply. Maybe he locked himself out, or maybe he's not in there and we should go home. But why? It was unclear what I should do next. Go home. Go to bed. This is your new life now. I don't want to know anything else. Perhaps it would be smarter to come back tomorrow with help, yes. But for some reason I had a feeling that behind this door I would find answers that I can't wait to be found. I walked across the room and took a crowbar from the corner. This guy has got some balls, I'll give him that. More balls than I have. I ain't got no balls. I wish if we find Shurek like fucking dead and like mutilated, I'm turning the game off. I'm done. This isn't what I expected when I got into this game. I've played this game for 4 hours and there was a random jump scare, but other than that, it's been fine. It's been a good time talking to cute Russian girls who don't know how to talk very well. It was great. I loved it. Now I'm in a goddamn bomb shelter. I wedged it under the bottom of the door and tried to rip it from its hinges. Oddly enough, after a while I did just that. Fortunately it wasn't as massive as the previous door. Not a very good bomb shelter. Fuck. Oh, they're doing this on purpose. They're doing this. The door gave out and slammed onto the floor. I took a deep breath and pointed the flashlight down the passage. Fuck. A corridor vanished in the darkness, the same as the one on which brought me here. Fuck. Ellipses. The walls were closing in. My head almost touched the ceiling, but I could not make out the end of the corridor. I walked carefully, looking at the ground. This was the reason I did not fall into the pit. This was the reason that I did not fall into the pit. I don't know what that means. Well, I don't like this at all. The hole was about 1.5 meters in diameter, and there was earth at the bottom of it instead of concrete. It seems the hole was caused by an explosion. It wasn't too deep. I could easily climb out later. Fuck, what are you doing? Jesus. I am such a bitch. I am such a bitch. After I jumped in the hole, I found myself in something that resembled an old mine. The walls and the ceiling were reinforced with wooden beams. The tunnel was so long that my flashlight was insufficient. Ellipses. After a few minutes later, I found myself in the crossroads. It's too dangerous to go any further. I could get lost. I decided that'd be a good idea to somehow mark the place or just go home. Mark the place where I would begin my journey into the labyrinth, so I picked up a stone and made quite a big notch on the wall. So, Jesus. I don't know. Let's go right. Fuck it. Seems there's another fork in the road. Seriously? Well, let's go right again. But then we can't go right again. Seems there's another fork in the road. Go left. What the fuck? What the fuck is happening? I don't like this. Seems there's another fork in the road. Okay. Okay, that was weird.